Hello, I'm John Hartledge. Welcome to my channel. We are going back to the area in France, wine's mothership, what can I say? Now don't get mad at me if you're from Italy, and there's another little mothership if will, because France was really populated by Romans, so all that wine you say, okay, good. But for all intents and purposes in the modern day, France is the wine mothership. Oh my goodness, we're going to Gascogne in the southwest forested coastal plains just below Bordeaux. In Gascogne, think Uni Blanc as the grape in that last episode, Domaine Pelot in the Uni Blanc. Well, we're going to do a red wine. So think Uni Blanc. Not only does it make beautiful white wine, it also makes cognac and Armagnac. And some of this wine is actually in brandy from Armagnac. It's going to be, I think, a good one. Let's chat wine. So, Tannat is that mystery grape. Well, not mystery for long, but Tannat, T-A-N-N-A-T, is a grape I usually associate with the Southern Hemisphere, particularly South America. Uruguay, that's the main red grape, and also in Argentina, but it's actually produced in a number of countries. But originally, like I said, from the French wine mothership in this area of France. Now, Tannat. Now, remember, brandy. So think cognac, Armagnac, and what we talked about in that episode with Uni Blanc was that there was a lot of acidity, and the acidity was key to producing brandy because you have that cooking, that distillation, which you need to have some acidity afterwards. That acidity allows this process to extend, and that makes for a more complex brandy. Armagnac is that other area that makes famous brandies, but tends to be a little darker, a little richer, a little more hearty kind of brandy. And this is actually part of the blend, where cognac is 95% white grape, Armagnac is about 55%, so there's room to play, and this is one of those grapes. And now, this particular wine is 60% Tannat, and then they balanced in 20% Cabernet and 20% Cabernet Franc, one of the older grapes, older red grapes, but that just kind of tends to smooth it. But because Tannat, particularly from this area, is known to be very tannic, there's a gentleman by the name of Patrick Ducournau. And in 1991, working in this area of Gascogne in France, southwest France, he was actually working with Tannat grapes, and he devised a way to oxygenate wine and to kind of speed up the aging process. Because you'd produce this wine, you have to sit it in barrels for months to years. And it's very expensive to keep your wine in barrels for months to years. And he came up with micro-oxygenation. It's 2 tanks of wine, and they're both connected to literally an oxygen tank. You bubble one through a porous stone. You also control dosing directly in the other one. Sometimes you do a little bit in fermentation, and then you start doing it during its aging and maturing process, and you only have to be in barrel for a little while, so it saves a lot of cost. It softens the wine. It allows it to age prematurely so that you can bottle it, and Tannat is that strong. So I was doing a little checking on this particular wine, and I just came across the site for a wine shop in New York, and they described it, and it's called Some Good Wine, and somegoodwine.com, but their description was dark purple and feisty, perfect for steaks, chops, this is the part that got me, and anything carnivorously driven. I put the growl in, that wasn't there. So notice this really interesting wine opener. So this wine opener is using the same theory as the lever pull, the rabbit corkscrew, where I am just going one direction and it is lifting the cork. You'll see it in a minute. It's gonna start lifting the cork out of the bottle once that big spiral gets down in there. Hold on, here it comes. It's got a, oh, there we go. I don't know if you can see it against my white shirt, but that cork is now moving to the top. So I'm gonna hold on to this so it doesn't twist, and we're gonna pull that cork all the way up into the device. Yep. All the way out. It's gonna bring the cork all the way out of the bottle. Whoop, we're close, okay. It should anyway. Let's see, might have to do a rescue. Oh, no, it just got too high. Okay, good, it's actually doing really well. But I'm gonna go ahead and pull it out, but you can see how, see that it came all the way through it. Now we're going to put it down here, and we're gonna go the other direction. So I'm gonna retract. Now I'm gonna retract the cork by holding it. Okay. All right, I had to do it traditionally just using the spiral, but that's okay. Yeah, so it's a bigger hole. I think I like the traditional, but it's always fun to have like a fun little device once in a while. The challenge, I'm just so glad I did that. The challenge is that I really kind of shredded a lot of that material. It's not a real cork. Well, it is a cork, but it's a pressed cork. So if you know you have a real cork, boom. With some of these, it's just gonna rip it apart. So, yeah, oh yeah. I'm gonna reach off camera and grab my little, there we go, yeah. See, this is a little cork, we'll get it taken care of. Okay. All right, now let's see. Perfect, my little micro screen, my little Oneida micro screen, perfect. That's a nice sieving, exactly what I needed to have. All right, let's try here. Oh, it is big. Now this is only 13.5% alcohol, so it's not a big, huge, unctuous, dense, 14.5. This is still France, so it's not a long growing season. But what's amazing in France, even with a short growing season, you end up with big flavors and big fruits. And notice I do have a decanter here. I don't have my Bernoulli's principle, Gil, but we're going to do the same thing, just not as infused. We're gonna do air. Now, you don't have to use Bernoulli's. I like Bernoulli's, I do. But we're gonna use the decanter. But let's try it first here. So it's a lot of flavor. But there is definitely a tannin on the finish. So it's got that, it's a little coarse sandpapery kind of drying effect on the back of the palate. So now let's put that aside. Let's grab another glass and let's do a little decant. Now, if you're gonna use a carafe or a decanter, carafe, hey, one of those old Paul Masson glass carafes that's sitting in the closet somewhere, perfect. Or one of those seven seasons, or one of those old salad things that just like a half liter or a liter carafe. Boom, you mix your salad up. Same thing. You can just take that or a nice decanter. The key is to have a tilt and a slant so you can really slow pour. The slower you can pour it, the more surface area and air contact you get on the actual physical wine. So you're softening it. Now that micro-oxygenation thing is really cool. That's actually being used now in about 11 different countries because he developed it, the gentleman I mentioned developed that in 1991, and then the European Wine Commission approved it in 1996. So now over 11 countries are using that process, not only for Tannat, but for other grapes that are very tannic and need that extra bit of quicker aging. There's a lot of science happening, and it's all very important because it saves on cost. And then we can deliver fabulous wines, and producers can deliver fabulous wines at a little more, reasonable rate. This wine at the price point, at $11 to $13 range, come on, easy. So it already softened it up. Now here's my true, honest assessment. I don't know if I would call it feisty. It's definitely really dark. This is a wine that's typical of French wines in this price point, but French wines in general. Food. This needs food. So with the acidity that's there, even with the decanting, because it's softened, this is really nice. Totally different wine if you get this from South America, but typically, to sit around and just have a glass of red wine, this would not be my first choice. This is a wine on the table, fabulous, especially if you have the nice marbling on your steak or your meat. So yes, absolutely a steak, anything carnivorous. Chicken is not going to stand up to this. It's going to be most likely beef, maybe like a spice sausage. That would be really cool. That would be really fun. As long as that sausage, there's a lot of fat in there with pork, I think you're in there. So the chop idea, I think I'd go pork tenderloin. I don't know if I'd go something as heavy as a chop. I like that. But certainly an excellent value, really neat wine, and a great everyday dinner wine. Come back and see me again. Let's chat wine. So I know I said this probably wouldn't be the wine that would I have by itself, but here's what happened. I let it sit with the cork. It was well, obviously I've had some of it, but 7 days it sat just with that airspace from doing the show, and it totally opened up. So then I look back and I say, you know what? I did not use Bernoulli's principle. I could have done the old crystal vin on that thing, forced some air in there, oxidized it, aged it, and gotten through that whole thing, and I might have felt a little different about it. But you know what? That great acidity, that great tannin, excellent for Armagnac, one of the best brandies. Okay, Cognac, I know, it's a battle, but take Armagnac. They use white grapes and red grapes, and it's rustic. So much better. Just needed a little bit of breath. Cheers.